Oh, good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on there. I love Mondays. I used to be self-employed for a long time, so Mondays is always a good day for me. So hey, going to bring my guests on here in a few minutes, but I want to give a shout out to everyone, all the organizations who help keep mothers on the show, and just thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And also, I want you to post on your calendar Mother's Justice Breakfast, Thurgood Marshall Justice Breakfast at the Royal Esquire Club on November 7th, 2024. And we'll know for sure we're moving forward. All right. Well, thank you for that. The listening on that piece. I want to bring my guests on. This is the Eddie. This is the Mr. Ryan and Reverend Waldman show this morning, or this afternoon, right now. And all right,
Thank you.
Mr. Ryan. Yeah, just come on,
Thank,
bring it on.
okay, Reverend Harriet, thank you very much. And I always try to find somebody that's can educate our community and dispense some information that would be helpful to people in our community. And that one person that we have today is Korbert Mosley, who's the managing director of the Community Reinvestment Project with the Washington State Department of Commerce. And millions of dollars have been put in Black organizations to help uplift our community. And this fund came about as the misguided war on drugs, where the Black community and other communities of color were harmed. So Korbert Mosley is on with us right now. And so Korbert, you want to say something to Reverend Harriet before you get started?
Yes, Reverend Walden, it is so good to be on the show with you today, and just excited to be able to share some information with your listeners, with you and Eddie Rye. So thank you for having me.
Oh, you're welcome, welcome. And you can come back on anytime, if you got information, because, our show is about information and how we can uplift the community and, not only around stopping police issues are harming us, but also black on black crime and how we harm ourselves. And now you're going to bring us some new information that I don't quite know that much about. So it's just cool.
I will. So if I can give you a quick overview about the Community Reinvestment Project.
Okay.
This is a $200 million allocation or appropriation for to respond to the harm that government caused during the Nixon era war on drugs and the 50 years, the 5 decades since. And so this is a resource that was established by the legislature. And there's four categories of funding for the Community Reinvestment Project, and I'll be brief. It's a massive project, but there's four categories of funding. There is reentry assistance, violence prevention, legal assistance, and the largest bucket is economic development.
Wow. Okay.
And so the funds have to be distributed in those four areas, and I'm excited to share on your show that we have Department of Commerce has contracted out $195 million in grants and contracts to over 400 organizations throughout Washington State, targeting resources and prioritizing Black, Latine, and tribal communities throughout the state that were disproportionately harmed by state and federal uh, uh, criminal actions related to the war on drugs. And so it's a lot of resources, and I'm really proud to say that we've gotten a number of organizations that have received dollars for the first time that are Black-led organizations serving Black people, or Latine organizations serving Latine people. And it's just a really cool experience to be able to watch these dollars really be able to flow to different organizations doing the work on the ground and building that infrastructure. And so I'd love to share some specific resources, and hoping that we have enough time that I can kind of cover a few really key things that I think listeners would want to know about.
Okay, well, I think I got you scheduled to about 2:20, so we'll see what we can do, and we can always bring you back.
Okay.
Okay, let's go.
All right. So, the first one I really want to share is one that was recently announced, and it is there was some awards that $29 million that were recently awarded to address wealth disparities and
Oh,
promote home
wow.
ownership and expanding access to financial resources.
Ownership. Okay.
And
Wow.
so there's a number of organizations that have housing capital dollars. So these are dollars that community members can go and access to help acquire and secure a home, have one built or
Oh, really?
expanded on, or purchase land to build a home. There's a number of really unique programs, and there's a couple of organizations that I really want to name.
Okay.
Um, so HomeSite, who has done phenomenal work throughout the state, including they have a particular program, Field Order 15, I believe, that they're doing some phenomenal work and have were awarded 2.85 million. African American Leadership Forum was awarded 2.85 million, and the same as Bird Bar Place was also awarded 2.85 million to really be able to advance home ownership. And there's a couple more. Urban League of Seattle was awarded 3 million. And Central Cultural Mexicano was awarded 3 million. So that's 14.5 million in funding to really be able to advance home ownership across the state, targeting communities that were most impacted by the war on drugs. And this is really an important resource and an important time to leverage those resources, particularly because they can be stacked on other resources that are available. I'm not sure if if your listeners are familiar with the Covenant Homeownership Program,
No.
but the Covenant Homeownership Program is a resource from the state, and it's new this year, and it's funded by $100 filing fee when somebody buys or sells a home, and it provides 20% down on a home if your parents or grandparents lived in Washington State before 1969, and you were a group that was impacted by the covenant restrictions that they had. So this is
Oh,
a
wow.
resources. Yeah, there's about 100 million in that bucket for home ownership. And it provides 20% down if your people are from Washington State and you were Black or Native American or a part of a group that might have been that was discriminated against in terms of covenant agreements, racially restrictive covenant agreements. Um, and those resources can be stacked with these other resources for the Homeownership Capital Accelerator, which is pretty cool. And so there's a lot of resources out there for home ownership that I think
Wow.
we just really want to get the word out. And I don't want to confuse these. I'm saying stack them, but the eligibility for the other organizations that I named, you don't have to have parents that lived here before 1969. But I'm just saying, if you do, then you can add some additional resources through the Covenant Home Ownership Program. And so it's really trying to advance home ownership and asset generation. So there's the
Wow.
Homeownership Accelerator Program, 14.5 million, but there's also some lending. We really wanted the community really wanted to advance by and for lending agencies. So lending agencies that were Black led or Latina led or tribal led that could actually be the lender for its community or for their community. And there's 14.5 million in funding that was put out for additional lending support, subsidized lending at better interest rates, additional capital to share. I mean, to spread out and to acquire and secure assets or to support a business.
So for people who are first-time buyers, or looking to buy, do they fit into any of these categories?
Absolutely. So there is, and for those that are listening and like, well, how do I find out more information? When you go to the Commerce webpage, commerce.wa.gov, there's going to be a quick link on the right underneath the picture that will say Community Reinvestment Project. When you click on Community Reinvestment Project, you'll see a list of resources, everything from financial coaching to reentry support to legal assistance to if you are employed and looking to increase your income. But those home ownership dollars will be listed on there as well, for the providers that you could reach out to learn about the specifics for their programs. And again, that's Home Site, African American Leadership Forum, Bird Bar Place,
Who,
Urban
who,
League of Seattle, and Central Cultural Mexicano.
who is the African Leadership Forum? I mean, who's like the executive director of that one?
African American Leadership Forum, I believe her name is Dawn. I want to say, is it Dawn Bennett?
Oh,
Um, I
I'll look it up
believe.
because
Yep.
I'm not familiar with them. So I just was
Yes, it's
wondering
Dawn
who.
Bennett.
Don
Hmm.
Bennett. Okay, well, I'll look it up because I wasn't familiar with them. And some of these programs also help people stay in their homes already. I mean, some of these programs. Okay. This is really interesting. I'm gonna have to have you back on so you can have a lot more time. Because what I'm really interested, the other one I'm interested in the violent prevention.
Hmm.
Because violence is escalating in our community and around the state. So it's going to give the other side something to run on. So anyway,
Yeah,
uh,
and there's a number of organizations that we actually funded. I want to say 29 organizations. It might be a little bit less than that. Particularly in the Black community across the state. But looks like a number of those programs are located in King County, Pierce County, Spokane, and then there's some additional dollars that'll go out into other parts of the state. But really excited about that work
uh,
around violence prevention and really supporting those organizations. And where we can, we really are encouraging people to volunteer with the organizations that we're funding as well. And if you have time and really want to invest into reducing violence and increasing community safety in your community, there's a list of organizations that we're funding that we really think warrant, whether it's these organizations or others. Now's the time to really try to build that community cohesion and support each other so that we can, really begin to heal, and and
what's in
stop the
King
violence.
County? You know what? I
Yeah.
mean, because people have been trying to do this for 34 years,
Yep.
and so in my
Yeah. I
experience,
can name. Oh,
okay,
sorry.
go ahead. No, 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 I can wait.
Um, so the King County organizations, African Community Housing and Development, Bird Bar Place, Building Youth Through Music, Giving Gifts of Hope, Intercultural Children and Family Services, Making a Difference Foundation, Rainier Beast Action Coalition, Resilient and Sustaining Empowerment, Village Life Project, Yoga Behind Bars. That's a very uh, amazing group, Faraji and his connections with the Black Prisoners Caucus, East African Community Services, and Forever Safe Places. There's also a number of organizations in Pierce County, like the Big Homie Program, Village Life Project, and others. So that's just to kind of name a few. I don't think I have
Oh,
the full
okay,
list in
yeah.
front of
Well,
me.
okay, I'll look it up because I'm familiar with the Rainier Beach. But it's none of the names that. And I think they fund. I think they fund other programs also. So anyway, yeah. So I'll look it up for my own resources and get some more information about some of these groups that I have not heard of. That's in Seattle and King County. So this is good. I
Yeah, and I
appreciate
think
this.
there's more resources that I believe there's a grant that division has up now around community planning and local advisory teams around violence prevention.
Well, who's doing
So
healing circles? Who's doing healing circles?
oh my
I
gosh. The community healer grant that we put out, Reverend Walden, we are very, very excited about. There's almost 50 organizations throughout the state doing engaging in some level of community healing practices,
yeah.
really innovative approaches. Too many to name, but we'll try to get those on the
Okay.
website listed pretty soon.
Yeah. Well,
But
I'm
I do
interested
want to
in that
encourage
piece.
folks that are interested in violence prevention to check out the grant programs that are available now, because there's still violence prevention grants that are rolling out.
Okay. Wow. And so is this a one-time rollout? I mean, so you're rolling out all the money at one time, is that right? I mean, so it's no reserve any, for latecomers or whatever. I'm just asking questions, but I know I'm going to schedule you to come back on because this is just amazing. I mean, because when a lot of people lost their homes or trying to stay into the homes. I know the Black Legacy homeowners association, group is also trying to give more information to people about staying in their homes and stuff. I think they met yesterday and they give out all kinds of information that help people stay in their homes. So yeah, so this is so interesting because a lot of times money come to the to the community, and I know every 30 years we have a rush of money into the community, and a lot of times that money does go to organizations that really really don't make a real difference. So anyway, this is going to be really this is like a new opportunity. That's what it sounds like, a new opportunity, and this money is here, and it came from the federal government. Is that right? Is the federal dollars here?
No, these are state dollars.
Oh, state dollars, all
Mm-hmm.
state dollars. Okay, okay. I mean, because people like myself, we got ran out of business. Back when they were running us out of business. Mr. Ryan knows about that
Yeah,
piece, but
yeah. Could I ask one question? Uh, the the program that Reverend Wallen just mentioned, the Homeowner Legacy Project, is it too late for that group to receive funding, Corbett?
So from Commerce, probably for Commerce, we're done with our competitive grant processes, but there is a little bit of resources still with each of the local advisory teams that have a little bit more flexibility with their budget to support the work, and that includes some asset building dollars. It sounds like that would fall into that bucket. For King County, the local advisory team is the United Way of King County. And I believe Sean Good, some folks are familiar with Sean
right.
Good's
Yeah, I
work.
know him.
So he's leading that effort with the local advisory teams with buying for organizations in King County.
Okay, well, that's good to
Thank
know.
you.
That's good to know because I sometimes the groups that's doing a lot of good work, sometimes if they don't have what with the sway they don't quite get in, but still they still doing good work, and I mean that's how it goes in America. So anyway, it's no, yeah, but this is such a good rich information. I Mr. Mosley, Mosley, we'll have to absolutely have you back on again because there's all these categories. You got what was the first one? The second was violence prevention, legals. The next one was legal, and then the next one was about development. But what was the very first one you said?
Oh, reentry.
Oh, re-enter. That's for people who've been to the big house
Hmm.
and coming
Yep.
and coming
Hmm.
back. Okay, okay,
Hmm.
yeah,
And
right,
we're intentionally trying to have the resources. I mean, the hope is that there's an opportunity for these different investments to really work together. And
right.
so how do you work with, when you have someone that's coming out of prison or has been out for a little while and still kind of struggling to get, their feet under them. Sometimes it's hard to find a place to live. It's hard to get that first job. It's
Sure,
hard to really get the support of your family.
right.
These resources are really intended to try to bridge some of those gaps and help more people be successful.
Yeah, and mother's whole work all this years has been trying to keep people out because we believe that
Yes,
there's a way. Our work was to keep them out.
yes, yes,
And I think the work
yes.
going forward is to teach young people what it means to be a felon. Because once you are a
Mm-hmm,
felon, then you lose a lot of rights. I mean, you can get them back in this state, but in other states, I mean, you don't have as much right as a new citizen, immigrant who is now a citizen. You lose your
mm-hmm,
rights and stuff like that. And I think it's so much education that has to be
mm-hmm,
done. But our job was to keep them out.
mm-hmm. And
Yeah,
we wholeheartedly really support that work and really also connecting young people with opportunities so they can kind of be on the right path where they can
right,
figure out what kind of job they want, what kind of career they want, how do they show up in community, how do they have the supportive, positive role model in their community that has resources to spend time to, you know, give them some lessons and some opportunities for them to make new connections and build networks and those kinds of things. We're really excited about what we're seeing, Reverend Walden and
okay.
Eddie. And I'd love to come back in a couple of months when we
Yes.
start to have a little bit more information on the results of this thing,
Oh,
and
yes.
this investment, then to ask the question, where can we improve, and
Oh, that's a good
how do we
one.
think about this work?
Well, that's really is a good one because so many times I mean we have to have good oversight and also good being able to track it and to see what's going on and that type of thing because this is a good opportunity to uplift our community and we know what's been happening to the black community in the last, since 19, since 20, since 19, for about 30 years, people been moving and leaving and then you
Mm-hmm.
had people homes being abated and all of that
Mm-hmm.
kinds of stuff. Now, does abatement homes fall in this category? I mean, because a lot of people lost their homes and grandmothers lost their homes when their children or grandchildren were selling dope in the houses. But the
Mm-hmm.
grandparents was like being held hostage, and all
Mm-hmm.
those things. And so just wondering, was that a category somewhere down the line for those? But I can have you on to talk about that again if you don't have that information today. Because a
I
lot
can
of houses,
quickly
okay, go ahead.
I can quickly say that that I believe that I've seen some of the eligibility for the program when it talks about first time home buyers.
Right.
It defines it as not being a homeowner in the past 3 years.
Oh, I
So if you
see.
owned a home in the past and you haven't been a home, so there are some programs that I think can really support home ownership if somebody has lost their home. It sounds like that they've thought about some of those
Okay.
things.
Right. Because some of the
And
grandkids, go ahead. I'm sorry. You got about one more
and
minute
Reverend,
here. Go ahead.
yeah, that's what I figured. And Reverend Walden, I do want to share that there is an announcement that will come soon in the next week or two, hopefully sooner. But it is the awardees for the $39 million in capital that was recently awarded too. So there should be a press release out very soon for an additional number of partners that folks can turn to that have a business that they want to start up or expand, land that they want to purchase, buildings that they want to build. There's some additional capital announced. Those partners know who they are, but we haven't publicly announced it yet. So
Okay.
excited for that. Uh, thank you.
All right. Well, I thank you for coming on and giving us so much rich information, and I'm sure we'll have you back again. I want to thank Mr. Rye, for actually alerting me to what's going on. And this is so rich, and so we'll have you back on. I want to let my listening audience know this is also a podcast, and people who didn't could tell their friends about it so they could still hear it. I want to thank you so much for being my guest. All right,
Thank you.
you're
Thank
welcome.
you,
All
Thank you,
Reverend.
right.
Mr. Rye. All right then,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. Thanks,
All right.
Korbert. All right.
All right,
Thank
you're
you.
listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. We'll be right back.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
Well, good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on the air. Oh, gee whiz. I'm so excited to bring my next guest on. She's been on more than one time, and she has lots of information. She's one of the mothers who working for accountability around police shootings and trying to get justice for Jesse and for other people. I want to welcome back Elaine Simon. How you doing, Elaine?
Hello there, Miss Reverend Harriet. Doing well, thank you.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Look like you've been to New York, big New York City. I've never been there. My kids say I walk too slow.
Hey, I was able to, they have a lot of benches. I
Oh,
was
they
very
do.
pleased.
My kids say you
I
walk
would
too slow
walk,
to.
sit, walk, sit.
They would say you walk too slow, Mama, to go to New York City. So, so yeah, come on, Elaine, and so welcome to see you again. Bring on the good what you've been working on here. We'll take a break here, in about 10, 15, about halfway through, and so you'll have a little time to talk about it. Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So go ahead. You can tell people who you are and what you've been working on, and you've been an advocate for children for a long time.
Yeah, thank you very much for bringing me
Oh,
back on.
sure.
Yeah, a lot has happened since June 27th. If
Hmm.
people have been following State versus Nelson, the jurors came back after deliberation with the verdict that we had preyed on, and that was second-degree murder and first-degree assault, guilty on both charges. And we were all just kind of like stunned. I mean, I
Hmm.
had good energy around the fact that we were going to have that outcome, but you just never know until you actually hear it.
Well, you know what? The state brought the best prosecutor because they didn't do that in Tacoma.
No.
I mean, really, the Manny Ellis case, I mean, that case should have been won. But I mean, you got to bring the best. You got to bring the best. You got to pay for the best to win. And I was like you, elated to the fact that just like in the George Floyd case, Ellison back there, he brought the best attorneys to be able to prosecute the case. And this the prosecutor has to prosecute the case totally to win. Otherwise, it's not going to be so. And
Yeah,
so,
and
go
they
ahead.
kept saying that over and over. They said, the thing that I kept hearing over and over from the prosecution is, what would another reasonable officer do in a similar situation? And that was just over and over. And that was really the crux of
Hmm.
it, was focusing on, was this police officer following protocol
Right.
and following, policy?
That's right.
And I mean, it was a phenomenal case to watch.
Right.
And it was sometimes hard to remember, I'm there as a family member that it was about, but also just someone who's never bear witness to something like this. I mean, it was history in the
It was really
making.
history, not only in Seattle, Washington State, but around the country, because the reasonable officer standard has, I don't think, ever been used.
Nope. And
It
I'm
has
hearing it.
never been used
Tyree
because
Nichols' case is using that now.
right now, because I've been doing this work for 34 years, and I in all across the country, and that standard has never been used.
Yeah.
That's like a new standard be in the lexicons police trying police officers reasonable,
Yep.
because what is reasonable?
And I think, I kept looking over at I like to call him former Officer Jeff Nelson, and I just kept looking at him and just flat. No emotion, even when the guilty verdict came in, there was just a little bit of emotion. I could just see his lips were quivering just a little. But that man had just been stolid the whole time through,
Wow. Wow.
and it's a very interesting journey when you sit in a courtroom and you have the prosecution side and the defense side, and we speculated about each other. I mean,
Right.
who are you? What is your relationship to Jeff? What is your relationship to Jesse? Because we were together for 7 weeks, some of us, every day. you
Wow.
know?
Wow. That really is steadfastness, what it takes to be in the courtroom. And like I said, that it takes a lot to be in the courtroom. And one of the things I know for me, my work is very seldom do I go in the courtroom because it's just more than what I can take over the years of
Yeah.
doing the work on the outside. And I've gone to just like one or two inquests in 30 years. And so it's difficult
Yeah.
because the way that they present the case and, and the family, and you're there every day. And it's like a rerun on a movie every day, every day. And so I want to acknowledge your strength and your prayers and all the people who are praying for you and all the other mothers who have to sit in the courtroom and have their family member demonized. And demonized, so even not to be human. I mean, it takes a lot to be able to sit in that courtroom. And I really want to acknowledge you and the other mothers across the countries who you've met, who've been in some of those courtrooms and sometimes didn't find justice. But
Yeah,
anyway,
and that's definitely something I learned, is that, only about 1% of Americans will see the inside of a
That's
courtroom
right.
on a
That's right.
criminal case.
That's right.
And so, we had the Ellis's case and our case. And so that's like it. And, and then to be able to get this kind of verdict, um, the first of its kind in 85 years of a
85
police
years.
officer. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what, Elaine, one of the things that Mothers is interested in is changing the language because we call them public servants. I think they need to be called public employees.
Mm.
Because a public employee, I'm a public servant. I do this work. I don't get paid.
Right. And when I saw the court order for the decertification, it called him peace officer. That's how they labeled him, peace officer. And I'm like, you guys really are missing it here. And it's like,
Well, the peace officers came England and in those places where they were peace officers at one time because they didn't carry guns. But I don't know how, peace and guns don't always go together, and that's a misnomer. That's how people look at things, and that's why violence escalates all over the world because you want to get people. Violence can't get you peace.
yeah.
You're not going to get there. So, but I know that it has not been very many officers or who have been decertified because Ian Burke was not decertified because he quit. See, who the untimely but the John T. Williams case, he quit.
Mm,
And so he was not fired. I mean, that's another little thing that they do sometimes. They let them quit.
right.
And then, and then they don't get to be decertified because it's no legal process. And I think we worked hard on that decertification piece for a long time. And I'm glad that it's there. Number one, as a statute. And I don't know how many officers in Washington State has been decertified since it's been there, but I don't know. Do you know that?
No, I finally go into the links now and I'm looking at who's up to be decertified, but I haven't really, gotten deep into that because this piece of it is like a whole different. We have
Right.
two things ahead of us. We have the sentencing and then we
Mm-hmm.
have the
Decertified.
decertification.
Mm-hmm.
I would think, and that's why I wrote to the Attorney General's office, why is there a holdup on the decertification of a convicted police
That's
officer?
right. That's right. That's right.
Nobody is answering that question.
That's right.
And
That's right.
so I think that shouldn't even be a no-brainer. Even if
Unless,
he gets an appeal, there's going to be years down the line for an appeal, or even if he gets paroled 28 years down the line, you know, decertify the man. He doesn't have any place or business being, as you call it, a public servant
yeah,
out there.
yeah, public, yeah, because they really, these are public employees. They
Public
did,
employee.
they got paid on the public dime. We the
Yep.
people pay the police wages. It's no federal grant. That comes in here and pay their wages on a yearly basis. If so, you got to keep those officers like Clinton when he put 100,000 on the force in America. The police departments who took that money had to keep the officers. You could not let them go after the money ran out. And I think people need to understand that the citizens of Auburn money that they pay on their taxes, that
Mm.
that money went to him, and he became a serial harmer of harming
Yeah.
people. Serial, not just like the other guy down there in Minneapolis. And there's something about this. Our work has always tried to keep these guys from doing that because there's one thing about it: you can have 10 officers at the same event, and only one will shoot, and
Yep.
the one that did the shooting, he's a serial shooter. And if
Yeah.
you go back and check the record, it's always that one that was felt unsafe. While 8 out of 8 officers, 7 felt safe enough not to not to shoot. That one officer did. See, another
Yeah.
correlation.
And in this situation, we still have the two other families, Brian Scammon and Isaiah Obed. We're hoping that this is a semblance of justice for their families as well.
Right.
Even though it was on Jesse's murder that brought it forward. But we
Yeah.
also have all the people that put in what 80 some assault charges against
Right.
him.
Right.
You know,
Right. Right. Right.
all
Right.
that was
Right.
not allowed in the
Okay.
trial. I
Well, yeah.
went to the motions on that, and they had 10 witnesses that were going to testify about the assaults that they've had by this officer, and they had video footage and everything. All of it was not allowed.
Well, we got a call from a family out there a few years ago, and it was a young man who they had let the dogs on. I mean, they came into his house, and he was in a corner, and they didn't do bark and corral. They did bark and hold. That means the dog is going to bite you.
Mm.
And these people was from another country, and he had lots of issues, and then we found out that this is the same guy, and all of that. So I just like to just say that the stamina that it takes to hold on in these cases. And I think some of the mothers across the country has passed on. I mean, their hearts
Yes.
couldn't take it. After the break, when we take a break and come back, after the break, I want you to talk about the mothers that you have met across the country. And I know from reading that some of them, and I know it just like, from a broken heart, and that's what it is. So why don't we just go ahead and take a break right now and then come
Okay,
back and we
thank
can
you.
try. So listen, we're going to take a break right now. Eric always knows how to handle me. When I throw him a curve. You listen to the Mother's Justice Show at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. We'll be right back.
The Mother's Justice Show is brought to you by H.G. Walden and the Virtues Healing Circles. Join us for Wisdom and Wellness with Reverend Walden, a monthly virtual and in-person healing circle that focuses on community healing and growth. Learn more at virtueshealing.com. That's virtueshealing.com. Also, be sure to join our healing group on Facebook. Again, visit us at virtueshealing.com today.
Oh, good afternoon. You're listening to the Mother's Justice Show at 11:50 a.m. KKNW. I'm your host, Reverend Walden. It's my joy to be on there. I love radio. I grew up with radio, so I'm just really right at home with radio. So I want to bring my guests back on. This is Miss Elaine Simon. She's a foster mother of the late Jesse Saray. She's been in this fight and for justice, not only for her son, but others. And welcome her back again, Elaine. Just welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, you were talking about the stamina of, being in the courtroom. And when Jesse was murdered on May 31st, 2019, we had a real strong movement there because after George Floyd was killed, it gave a catalyst for a voice and people mobilized around this case. But because after the arrest and the arraignment of Jeff Nelson, it took 4 years to get to the trial.
Right.
And by that time, the world shifted.
Right.
COVID, other, things started happening and paralyzed really what was happening here in Washington State. And
Right.
during that time, at the beginning of the trial, during arraignment, I was honored and blessed to be able to have the Saray family by my side.
Right.
But during that time, Jesse's mother, Carrie, on June 17, 2021, had passed away. And I began looking across the nation and starting to see this kind of collateral damage happening to mothers who it really took them. It broke their hearts. And then again on August 5th, 2022, Jesse's younger brother, who I raised, Terrell, and Terrell lived with me for almost 11 years. He also passed away, and he was only 28 years old. And so when I was in that courtroom earlier in the fight, I had cousins and I had the sibling and the mother there by my side. By the time the trial actually started, I still had mothers in the room with me, but there were other mothers that were impacted by police violence. And that gave me the strength I needed. Every time a mother sat next to me, I felt it was like Carrie sitting next to me.
Yes.
You know, they were
Yes.
holding my hand. And one of the things that we all said to one another as we sat there during our lunch break was we felt the essence of all of our children that were murdered by police.
Yes.
We felt they were in the courtroom. And I also felt like Carrie was there with me.
Yes.
And that was really important because there were times, Harriet, where I was alone in that courtroom and the only other person there that knew the living, breathing Jesse was Officer Jeff Nelson.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Yep.
those were the moments. And I have journals. I kept journals while I was in there because people said, how did you keep your decorum? How did you not just go crazy every day? And I wore headphones. They gave me my own chair, so I didn't have to sit on the pew. So I would come in, my headphones were there, my chair was ready for me, and then I took notes. It was the
Right.
only way that I can control myself because after a while, I didn't have to look at the video over and over of the shooting. You know, I've already saw it, so I was able to observe the courtroom, watch Jeff Nelson,
Mm.
watch that. But one of the things, if I was to give any family that enters into a murder trial, there are three things that I would give to you as advice of what it's like to enter in that room. One is don't miss jury selection. I went every day, 15 days of looking at who were going to be our jurors.
Right.
Very, very important.
Hmm.
Number two, make sure you have a trusted person that you can call,
That's right.
especially when I was driving home,
Right.
to be able to just yell, scream, de-escalate. And so I had to trust it. I had the aunt of Corey Jones. Her name is Sheila Banks, and she lives in Florida, in Atlanta, Georgia. And then I had Oscar Grant's uncle, Bobby. And those
Oscar
two were
Grant.
my to call. And each of
Oscar
them
Grant.
gave me a different kind of way of handling it.
Yes.
And
Yes.
I'm blessed. I mean, both
Right.
those people were able to kind of give me the coaching. And the third thing was do not do anything that would bring negative attention
That's
to
right.
the Saray family because the
That's right.
jurors are watching.
That's right. That's right. That's right. And they were not sequestered, right? Were
No,
they
they
sequestered? Okay,
no.
yeah. And so that meant that they could see everything, right?
Yep.
So those are really good things. And I know somewhere you have tucked away that you have a spiritual practice some way. I mean, because without a spiritual practice, it's hard to go through this,
Yeah.
and maybe call in your friends and stuff like that. Also, gives us a strength that's needed to go through things that's differently. That's hard. And
Yeah.
it is hard. And one thing we never know how life is going to be, and we just every day we move out and trust to believe that our family is going to come home, and that if they're in cars and stuff, they're going to come back home. And then when they don't come back home, then her whole your life is forever changed by the death or the murder of a child, your loved ones, or just the passing of a child, because one thing about it takes your breath away,
Yeah.
and you have to learn how to breathe again in a different way, because that person that you love so much is no longer here, and not in the physical form, and it takes a lot to do that piece, and I understand it from a different way because I have a son in spirit, but it's all a different reality. But at the end of the day, it's still a mother's grief, and that type of stuff. So that's why I can talk to mothers, because some people say I know how you feel, but that's not always true, So and so and those kind of things. So well, I just thank you, so much for what you bring and how you've been able to stand there. And I'm going to give you about 3 or 4 minutes to talk mainly again about the Mother's Day. You went to the Big Old Apple
Hmm.
to see, and their strength, and then the next part, I mean, I'll have to, talk about, Mother's Breakfast Club, and I mean, breakfast is coming up. But yeah, those mothers, the pictures you sent me, I saw so much joy on your face, Elaine.
It's something to be, it's weird because it's not like everybody says it's not a sorority, it's not a club that you want to belong
No,
to.
it's not. Mm-mm.
However, On my journey, as I've traveled across the nation to support other mothers at their rallies and as I move forward, I'm going to start being more on the trial support side of things. I found just being in their company, watching and being around such they're called mothers of the movement. And
Yes,
I'm not really, I don't feel I'm a mother of the movement because I'm still only, 5 years out. Some of these mothers that I've met are 10, 15, 25 years in the fight still. And
right,
those women are so admirable. But the event that I went to in New York City, just to kind of bring this to a full center, was Miss Gwen Carr, and she is the mother of Eric Gardner.
right.
And that was a very significant because, there are certain cases that we're watching and have pivotal time periods. And I remember that very clearly when, Eric was murdered. And it kind of mirrors Manuel Ellis's in some
Right.
respect and George
Right.
Floyd, because there's different kinds of ways that people are taken out. With Jesse,
Sure.
it was by gun, but
Right.
the other three men
Right.
I mentioned were all by asphyxiation.
That's right.
And she's very graceful. She brings together, I don't know how she goes about it, how she brings these different women, but we come from across the nation, from different stages of our fight. We had you know, this moment, a weekend where we come and we eat together and we go to church. I mean, just the church experience on Saturday was a phenomenal to be in the presence of us and having people pray over us, and the community is there to support us. And she's only 10 years out, but you would think she's been at it for like 20 some years. And she's just amazing. And
Wow.
I just very honored and blessed that I'm included in that.
Wow. I'd like to have her. Maybe I can get her information and see if she'd like to be on Mother's Justice show at some point. I had some contact with some of the mothers in New York, but I don't have that contact anymore. So, it is, but it seems to me she has a spiritual practice. I
Yes,
mean, because it's a
very
spirit. You
faith-based.
have to have a spirit. One thing I know for sure from my own life, and is that a spiritual practice will get you through. I mean, it's not gonna, that life that that you're talking about for all of us, that life, that piece is ended because they're not coming home for Christmas, won't be in the
Yeah,
birthday cakes. But how do you go on? How do you move on? And one of the things that you mentioned about all the people who've never got justice, and like you say, I mean, most people in America never really get justice in the man term,
yeah.
in the physical terms. And so how do those people pick up the ball and go? And it'd be interesting to talk to people about how they keep going and that type of thing. And and I see you probably being one of those mothers. I mean, it's how do you do that? And I think that's going to be a worthy project in the future. How do you do that? I mean, I had the fortune of being with my son when I gave birth to him, and I was with him when he passed away. But people, most mothers that we're talking about, that's not their fortune. I
Yeah.
mean, they went to the store and didn't come back, or and those kinds of things. And so, that's an interesting a project to think about, and how that what keeps what's the guiding light for them and for you and others, and how. I mean, because with a lot of this stuff happening, uh, the mothers I met very few angry mothers, because by that time they're in another place, with the violence and stuff like that, and what has happened in the family. So
And
we're gonna go ahead. We got
oh,
one more
and
minute.
that is what I keep thinking, what is my purpose now?
That's
I'm
right.
in this different trajectory,
That's right.
like I said before, then, I could walk into a venue now and be the only person that's had a conviction.
That's right.
And
That's
that
right.
carries a big
Yes.
responsibility, that what is it that I will be able to offer to other
That's right.
folks that hopefully will have that journey themselves, because
That's right.
it's a very lonely being on this side.
Well, but it's encouraging. I mean, it really is to know that they can always have a breakthrough. And that's what it is about the world. You can
Right.
you can always have a breakthrough. And I want to thank you for being on my show. And I'll have you back again because I'm gonna spend the last few minutes talk about Mother's Justice Breakfast. And I want you
Okay.
to come if you can. It's going to be November the 7th at the Royal Esquire Club. And it's the Thurgood Marshall Justice Breakfast because he did a lot for justice for us. you know.
Definitely send me the information for that.
Oh yeah, I'll make sure you know about it. But I appreciate your work. I appreciate what you've done. And as a mother to another mother, I mean, my heart is always with you and all the other mothers because it takes a lot to stand. Oh, it takes a
I'll
lot.
send an email out to you with Miss Gwen together in an email. I'll do that when I
Okay,
get off the phone.
okay, okay. That sounds good. And I want to thank you for being my guest on Mother's Justice Show.
Thank you.
And we will continue as mothers together.
All right. Thank you
All right.
very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thank you. And I'm going to now talk about a little bit of Mother's Justice Breakfast. Hey, it's the Thurgood Marshall Justice Breakfast, and we always have an attorney there who knows about Thurgood Marshall, and maybe not directly, but have gone to as an attorney and is doing this justice work. It's going to be November 7th, 2024. And guess what? That's after the election, y'all. So everybody remember to vote. Hey, remember to get registered and remember that you can vote. And for people who have been to prison, a lot of times a lot of the Washington State felons can get their voting rights back here. And the rest of the Royal Esquire Club is 5016 Rainer Avenue, south, of course, and it's a breakfast, y'all. So it's going to be from 7 to 9. Yes, so make sure you come out. One time we were doing a Paul Robeson luncheon, but for the last few years, almost 12, 13 years now, we've been hosting the Mother's Justice Breakfast and come out, support mothers. This annual fundraising event. This is our 34th year. We had no, no reason to believe in 1990 that we would still be going here 34 years later. We all volunteer organizations, so we're looking for young mothers and younger people to come and be involved with mothers. That's how you have some follow through. And after Mother Walden steps down, and have somebody else to take on this organization. So listen, so come on out, the Mother's Justice Show. Mother's Justice Breakfast, uh, November 7th, at the Royal Esquire Club. 5016 Rainer Avenue South. And guess what? It's after the election, people. So it's going to be a lot of buzz going on in America. We'll know if we're going forward or whatever. And I believe people want to go forward. Have you ever seen the clock run backwards, people? I don't think so. So come on out to Mother's Justice Breakfast and give us some support. That's November 7th. At the Royal Esquire Club, Rainier Avenue, 5016 Rainier Avenue. And you've been listening to the Mother's Justice Show on 1150 AM KKNW. And also, this podcast is coming up soon, the Mother's Justice Show. Take care. Have a good week, and I'll be talking to you. All right.